Hi, everybody. I'm Mike, and this is Mike Miller Talks Life. Today's quote: "Your direction, not your intention, determines your destiny." That's kind of a mouthful. Your direction, not your intention, determines your destiny. How many times have we ended up someplace that we never intended to be? It happened to me once. I was on a call out as a sheriff chaplain, and I got called to one of the jails in the area where I served, and it was a meeting about something that was going on in our county. And I'd been by this jail, but I'd never been to it, and I had my GPS going, but I sort of got out of range of that, and it stopped operating, and I was like, I couldn't find where I was supposed to be. And it's like one of those things where I was all around it, but I couldn't quite get there. And I made a turn up a road, went through a gate, and it was a bigger driveway and a bigger gate. And so I thought, this is probably it. And I get up there and the gate shuts, and I'm up there in an area that was not at all where I was supposed to be. I go around a corner, and there's a place with lights on, and the windows are no window coverings. It was wide open. So I thought, well, maybe somebody's in there. And as I park and walk toward it, I realized that someone was on a table getting a massage, not fully clothed, but under a sheet. And I'm thinking, oh man, what am I doing? I'm not supposed to be here. This is not where I intended to be. Well, they motioned me to come on in. They're all friendly. And I'm thinking, I can't go in there. So I open the door and I stick my head in and it says, hey, I'm Mike Miller, I'm a chaplain, and there are other deputies coming. There weren't other deputies coming. I'm just saying that just in case they tried to kidnap me or something. I told them where I was headed. They told me what to do, and I says, well, the gate's shut, and I don't know how to get out of here, and they told me what to do, and I got out. I was somewhere where I never intended to end up. That happens to us in life. Sometimes we want to be functionally fit and healthy in life, and yet we end up on the couch with another injury because we're not getting there. We want to have good, healthy, long-lasting, loving relationships, and yet here we are in another relational conflict. You want to get on top of your finances and have a savings, have a cushion, and yet here you are again, you've overspent, and you're another crisis with your finances. This quote comes from Andy Stanley. I'm a big fan of Andy's. He's a pastor of a very large church in Atlanta, and yet he has a way of talking to people that if you're a Christian, it's helpful. If you're not a Christian, it's still something that you can apply to your life. And so I just love hearing him. And this quote comes out of a book that he's written, The Principle of the Path. And it's about making better decisions in life. And great read. I recommend it. Your direction, not your intention, determines your destination. We all have desires. We all have intentions. Often we have desires and they don't ever go anywhere. We want to ride a mountain bike on the weekends and have fun. So we go out and spend a lot of money on a mountain bike. We ride a couple of weekends and then we don't do it anymore. We've always wanted to read War and Peace. So we go out and buy the book War and Peace, a fancy binding because it's so cool and we can't wait. And we start the book, and then it goes on our shelf. And people come to visit and they see your books on your shelf and they say, oh, you read War and Peace. Well, yeah, started. And yet sometimes there are things that are real. I want to be a kind person. I want to be a person of character. I want to be this. And a lot of times there are things that we want to accomplish in life. You know, career choices. I want to be a nurse, or I want to be a firefighter, or I want to be in law enforcement, or I want to be functionally fit and healthy. I want to get into the arts, get into photography or art or music. I want to have a fulfilling long-term marriage. I want to run a marathon one day. I want to become a good cook, or whatever. These, we all have these things we want to do in life. Or we want to retire and then get into something new and fresh. And occasionally we have a mirror moment where we see ourselves. Sometimes it can be discouraged because we realize I intended to be at this point in my life, at this time, having done this or accomplished this, and here I am. Or I really wanted to get this done, and here I am. Or I never intended for this to be in my life, and yet here it is. Most people live by intention, and intention will get you nowhere. When I was pastoring a church in a small town, a community church, you end up meeting a lot of people, and sometimes the most fun about the job is just to get out in the community and walk around and meet people and talk to them. And I was there for a long time, so I saw many people that had been there a long time. I saw many young people who were born there and grew up there, and kind of a great spot to have, to be a part of people's lives. And many of these young people I would talk to, and not so young, just people headed out in life. And I'd ask them, where do you want to go next in your life? And they would often say, well, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to go here, I want to accomplish these things. And I would see them sometime after that conversation, and some were well on their way. Others were still trying to get started. And it was about that time that I discovered Andy's quote about our intentions don't really get us anywhere. And I realized that the issue was not one of intelligence, it was not about talent, it was not about opportunity. It was about moving from intention to direction. Because direction, not intention, determines our destiny. Some people I hear from talk about that they need to become more intentional in their life. And I get what they're saying, but I don't totally agree. I think they need to become more directional. They need to find the right path and get on it and move in that direction. To desire, to intend, to be sincere, that's not enough. If you want to go to the North Pole and you're headed west, you need to change your direction if you want to get there. You can desire the North Pole, you can want the North Pole, you can pray that you'd get to the North Pole safely, but you're going to have to change direction. It's the same thing for people who say, one of these days I'm going to run a marathon, and yet they continue to eat unhealthy foods that make them sluggish and tired out, and they're never running, they're never trying to build up their endurance, and they're not going to ever be able to run a marathon. Whatever you desire, whatever you intend, you've got to move from that to the right direction. You can want it, you can be sincere, you can visualize it, you can even pray about it. But you got to move in the right direction. So the question that I think we all need to think about occasionally is, will the path you are currently on get you where you want to go? Whether you're in high school or whether you're about to retire, will the path you are currently on take you where you want to go? I think there are a few questions that might help with this. What do you really want? You need to be realistic here. Some people promise that if you dream it, you can do it, or you can be anything you want. And I've never thought that was true. You can't be anything you want. You can be what you were created to be. You can be what you have gifts and talents and skills to be, but you can't be anything you want. I think also, not only do we need to be realistic about it, but we need to be positive. Many times people say, well, I want to do this, but I got to get all this clutter out of my life. And that may be the case, but I think when you're starting out with what you want, you need to be positive. And you need to just say to yourself, I want to go for that. And let that positive desire drive you toward where you want to go. And then you need to, number 2, simply answer what path leads to that. There are many paths in life. There's a spiritual path. I'm on a spiritual path. I am a follower of Jesus Christ. And this is a lifetime commitment to learn about Jesus, to strive to become like Jesus, and to do what Jesus would do in your everyday life. And that's a spiritual path. I believe that Jesus is the way to God, and I believe we are made by God and for God, and when we become a follower of Jesus Christ, we're on the path to be what we were created to be. And it's a path. It's a long-term path. There's a relational path to help increase the strength of your relationships and make them better. Career paths, health and fitness path, academic path, many, many paths. Will the path you are currently on get you where you want to go? Or when you determine where you want to go and what you want to be, what path does it take to get you there? And then you need to ask what needs to go. Not what needs to go with you, but what needs to be gotten out of your life. We need to purge the things that hold us back. Don't let them stop you. So I talked about this in the beginning about, or the first point about let the positive pull you. I want this, and let that drive you along. And as you're moving down the new path, as you're thinking about where you want to go, things will pop up like habits. And you need to deal with them because they're going to try to keep you off the path. So, I mean, you pick up a habit of health and fitness and you want to get up in the morning and walk. This is what I've been trying to do. Walk every day, most days. And I get up in the morning. I like to get up early because I've always been kind of an early riser. And also I want to beat the heat. And so I'll get out there. But it's amazing the things that pop up in your mind first thing in the morning, from too tired, or I need more coffee, or and you just got to decide ahead of time. I'm on a path that does this. So it makes it easier to say no to that. So habits need to go. And the best way to deal with a bad habit is to deal with a new, fresh, positive habit. It's never going to work just to try to stop something. You have to choose a new habit to take its place. Otherwise, when you just try to stop it, it leaves a big void, and before you know it, the old habit comes back with a vengeance, and you're just in this vicious cycle. So stop a bad habit with a new positive habit. Deal with attitudes, which are just habitual ways of thinking. Or deal with these personal fears we have about ourselves and what we're capable of and all that stuff. Also, the people in our life. I mean, some people just are not helpful, and you're trying to get on a new path. Sometimes just unimportant things. We're too busy. And so just to get aware that you can't do everything, some things just have to go. And they're not bad or anything. They're not necessary. Number 4 is you got to start moving on the right path. Now, this is sort of happened in number 3, where you start moving and the negative things start popping up. So number 4 is just you got to start on the right path. And I think it helps to develop a plan of some daily activities that will help you do the path. But don't make this plan too cumbersome, or it'll be the problem. So just what are some things that will help you get going on this path and stay on the path? And the one thing you really want to avoid is shortcuts. There are no shortcuts to anywhere worth going. Shortcuts, if you have an academic path going, don't try to get a degree online. That's not real. Stick with the path. Watch out for shortcuts and start moving. it becomes fun. It becomes positive. When people talk to you, oh, who are you? My name is Mike, and they ask about you, and then you can start saying, well, I'm doing this because you're on a new path. And it feels good to tell people you're on a new path and you're going in this direction, and it's kind of fun and positive. The final question is, who can help? I talk about this all the time. We need a group of people in our life. These people are encouragers, they're supporters, and they will help you go where you want to go. And they will hold you accountable if you give them permission to do that. So if they see you about to veer off your path, or if they see you doing a few things that have the potential of getting you off the path, they can bring it up. Say, hey, what's going on there? And you can be the same with them. It's a group of equals that encourage and support each other. So important. For many things in life, it's just too hard to go it alone. So you always want to ask, who can help me? You're doing the work, but you need a team of supporters. Will the path you are currently on get you where you want to go? Important question to ask yourself periodically in your life. Because your direction, not your intention, determines your destiny. Where do you want to end up? Your direction will determine whether you make it there or not. Hey, thanks so much for listening. I really hope there were some helpful pointers here, some things that maybe stirred your thinking or sort of got you focused, or maybe it's you hear some things that you have a good friend that maybe needs to hear this. So I hope you'll click like or maybe share it with them so that they can benefit from some of these thoughts, and subscribe if you want. And until next week, I hope you have a good, healthy, safe week. Thanks so much for tuning in.